Just when America has reached a breaking point with division, visionary influencer Danni Benson's I'm Proud of You Sis Bro movement taps into the pulse and heartbeat of a culture radically torn. But this loving mom's voice of reason and calm has received national recognition.
How'd you balance having your children and always traveling with the Yankee organization?
When I became a dad, I said that I would always love like a mother.
I feel like I have to hide certain things or act a different way because I know some people or some kids feel like they have to.
As part of the Chapters Network, Benson brings a weekly show aired worldwide on YouTube and Facebook, and her message is creating positive change. That's Wednesday at 6 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. May the 4th be with you. I'm a Star Trek fan. No, it's not Star Trek. Star Wars. But I'm both a fan of Star Trek and Star Wars. Thank you for joining Danni Benson. I'm proud of you, sis. I have Alethea Shapiro here on the show today. And she had to be here because we are both so involved in politics. And she was a person to bring in to talk about all of the stuff that is going on right now, especially with the Supreme Court, with women's rights, inflation through the roof. I mean, highest in 40 years. The Feds just rose interest rates up a quarter point as of today, and they are going to do at least a quarter point in the next 2 years. So they're going to move it 9 more times, which affects credit cards. You're buying more, you're going to be spending more in getting a house because your interest rates on a house is going to be even more expensive. I mean, they're trying to bring the inflation down, but I think it's, to me, in my opinion, I think it's too late. They should have started this like a long time ago because a lot of people were getting a lot of free money because the rates were so low. So when people are still buying stuff at the price that is so high, that's what causes inflation. But there's so much is going on. So, Alethea, let's just talk about what is going on. The Supreme Court, political.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. All of a sudden, the sound went out. I really hope it's not this freaking. Oh my God. Is your Bluetooth on? I was listening. I heard her before. I don't know what just happened.
Can you hear me now? But I can't hear you though.
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Should we
Okay.
just start? Should we start all over again?
Yes.
Okay, so hi, I'm Danni Benson. I'm proud of you, sis. I'm very excitable because I'm a political head. You're a political head. This is like so perfect because you just came right in time. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the world this week. But let's speak about Mother's Day and like women's rights because I want to dive right into it. Politico got a leaked document this past Monday basically in a 6-3 court, which is swayed by conservative, which is Republicans, is basically going to overturn Roe versus Wade, which is basically 50 years since 1974, when the Supreme Court ruled that women has the right to choose. Now we're finding that Roe versus Wade will be most likely overturned, because we have a Supreme Court that's predominantly conservative. So what that means is they're going to give it back to the states to make that decision. So how do you feel about that, Alethea? Hi, everyone. This is Alethea Shapiro.
Hi. Thanks for having me. And this is 1 year ago we did a talk, so thanks for having me back a year later. And gosh, so much has changed in 1 year. I mean, the state of the world is just, I thought it was bad last year. It just keeps on getting worse. It keeps on getting worse. And this is honestly like, I honestly cannot even wrap my head around it. This is so enormous, and it's just so horrifying, and really just like, I'm really in disbelief because we just really don't know how this is going to play out. This can play out in so many different ways. Will they roll it back all the way? We don't know. Will they roll it back only to 15 weeks? We don't know. I was listening to the news the other day. They were talking about, now corporations will have to weigh in and take a stance, similar to how Disney weighed in on the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. Like, this is just so enormous that I can't even fathom the repercussions. And so honestly, how am I doing? Like, I feel very triggered, but I'm just trying to kind of, take it an hour at a time and like, let's see what materializes. I mean, my hopes is that this inspires women and men to honestly activate and organize and take to the streets. Like, we need a Women's March 2.0, basically. We need millions of people in the streets and saying, we will not go back. We will not go back 50 years. We will not go back to the dark ages. We will not go back to hanger abortions and dark alley abortions and, all these dangerous ways of having an abortion. If a woman is desperate enough to have an abortion, she's going to have an abortion. And it doesn't matter if there is a law on the books or not. Where there's a will, there's a way. So, overturning Roe v. Wade will not stop abortions. It will just stop safe and legal abortions.
And that's the same thing they say about gun laws. Having stricter gun laws is not going to stop, criminals from killing people. So it's like an oxymoron thinking that, having abortion laws is going to stop people having abortions. Look,
Yeah.
My stance is I believe in choice. Choice means to me, it's whatever you personally want to do in your home, the choice that you want to do that's right for your family and for yourself. Now,
Exactly.
to me, the way I read pro-choice is I'm not saying I'm for abortion or against abortion. I'm just saying that whatever is right for you based on your circumstance, I feel that you should be the right to choose based on what's going on with your when you put restrictions on a woman's choice and then now say if you are pregnant, now I don't have a choice. I have to keep this this fetus. And yes, I get it. There's religious people who feel like the fetus is alive. But I was taught in school that we have to separate church from state. Not everyone in this country is religious. Not everyone in this country, believes in the Bible, right or wrong. The reason that our democracy works is because we don't let religion infiltrate the way we govern in our society. And once you let religion govern our society, then I personally feel that you become like the Taliban. What is the difference with the Taliban telling women that you need to stay home and not get educated because you're a woman, versus now our country is saying a woman isn't smart enough to make a decision for themselves, and they have to have the government tell them they can make the choice for them, and the choice is, if if you are pregnant, we take that choice away from you. We're telling you that you have to go through with the conception and having a child. I feel like it's the same thing. When you get religion involved in something, I personally feel like it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy because, women have abortions for, I mean, a million different reasons. And everyone has the pieces of their own puzzle. Everybody knows what is best for them and what is best for their families. So for random, let's just call it white men in government who think that they know better
I'm
than.
so sorry. We are having technical difficulties. I'm so sorry. But go ahead,
Okay.
Alethea.
I'm saying that, women know what is best in their lives. They have all the pieces of the puzzle of their own lives. Women can make decisions that best, that are best for their own lives, for their own families. And the fact of the matter is that, let's just be honest, these white men in Washington, D.C. think that they know our lives and our bodies and our circumstances and situations better than us is absolutely insulting and disgusting. And like I said, women have a plethora of reasons why they need to terminate a pregnancy. Financial situations change. It could be because of rape. It could be because of incest. All of a sudden, you can get pregnant by someone who is physically abusive to you. You could perhaps, birth control sometimes doesn't work. And like similar in my situation, I wanted to keep my baby, but I had a fetal anomaly. So the baby that I had to terminate had something called trisomy 9. So like Down syndrome is trisomy 23. So my baby was trisomy 9. Now I had to terminate close to 17 weeks. So if this Roe v. Wade was overturned to possibly the Mississippi law 15 weeks, I don't know what I would have done. And let me just explain why I had to do it at 17 weeks. You cannot get an amniocentesis until after 16 weeks. That's why this makes no sense to me. I found out at 12 weeks that my blood work was abnormal, and you cannot get an amnio until you are after 15 or 16 weeks. And because of scheduling, it could be 15 weeks, it could be 16 weeks. You just don't know. So for me, I don't know what I would have done. Like, I was after the 16-week mark. Now, let's say you want to get a second opinion. It might take you a week or 2 weeks to get into another doctor. So, sometimes it's just not feasible to terminate as early as you want to terminate. This was a heartbreaking decision for me. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. I already had 3 children, but in the end, I was pro-life in that I picked my living children and myself. And that's what was best for my family, for us to live and to thrive as a family. And if my child was born, I don't know if she would have made it past birth or if she would have lived a life of suffering and surgeries and a horrible life. So for me, that was the best decision for me. And I went on to have my son, Skylar, who is the love of my life and who has brought me back to life after that, heartbreaking, horrible, situation I found myself in. But I don't regret it for not even a minute, because abortion is healthcare. 1 in 4 women will have to abort a pregnancy. That's your mother, your sister, your aunt, your cousin, your grandma, your teachers, your doctors, government officials, 1 in 4. So let's stop pretending that you don't know people who are having abortions. They're all over the place, and you probably know several of them. It's very common, and it's healthcare. So this is just absolutely horrifying that we are now trying to, bring women back to the dark ages. No, the answer is no. And we're going to fight it. We're going to take to the streets and we're not going to give up. And I really hope this really rallies people to get out and vote this November for the midterms. And this is a issue that should hopefully galvanize the youth, because this is about their future. So I hope that the teens and the youth are listening, and we'll fight back against these abortion attacks, climate, all that stuff. And I hope this will really help us turn out for the election in November, because honestly, this election is really do or die for a lot of people.
Yes, it is. And my thing is this is my stance. Like, I don't judge anyone who is pro-life, but I feel that pro-life means not only in the wound, but also outside the wound. If you feel that you are pro-life, then I feel that you should care about the child once the child is also born. You should not judge anyone who has children and if they're on welfare. I hear people say, oh, why would you have 13 kids and you can't afford it? Or, you hear like once a child is born, now it's like, okay, I can't afford daycare. That's not my problem. Oh, I need time off. That's not my problem. See, if it's going to be pro-life, it has to be pro-life when the child is born too. And you have to be able to help support that child to have a good living standard. You can't just say pro-life and you don't care how the child lives once the child is born. You don't know the circumstances of how that child is going to live once a child is being born into this world. It's not fair that you just want the child to just be born, but in what circumstances do you want the child to be born?
No,
there's a lot of people who can't afford to have the 15th kid. So is that fair to say that, okay, but hey, you got to have the 15th kid. So, but what circumstances is that good for the child to be born in some circumstances like this? Now, if you're going for pro-life now, are we going to put more money into welfare? Are we going to put more money into childcare? Are you going to put more money into healthcare? Are you going to put more
housing,
money
education?
Are you going to put more money into those things? Because now that you're saying that, you are pro-life and you're taking the decision away from the woman. So are you going to invest once this child is born, or that woman is on their own with the decision that you're taking away from that woman? Now you're going to say, well, okay, the child is here, but that's not my problem. We just wanted the child to be born.
Right. Forced birthers. That's what they are. They are forced birthers. And it is a way to control women. And then at the end of the day, this will affect, the Black and brown community the most. A community that has also already been affected by the lack of these infrastructures, these social infrastructures, housing, healthcare, education, and all the things we just talked about. This is a marginalized community that has already been kicked down. We're going to, kick them down further. This is absolutely, it's unbelievable. And let's be honest,
be honest, it's not going to affect people who have money.
I was just going to say that if someone who has money needs to get an abortion, they will fly their child or themselves here, there, or the other. But, low income or Black and brown people or poor white women, they cannot afford to potentially cross state lines, take off work, find childcare, and then possibly find medical care after the abortion. So, a community that is already struggling, this will do like an unimaginable amount of additional damage to these communities.
And what I thought about too is, if this is a federal thing or a state thing, then this is what's going to happen. If people are on Medicaid, the state could potentially say, we're not covering any abortions. So now it affects people who are poor, because if they're not going to cover the abortions, then what do they do from there?
I don't know. And and if this Roe v. Wade is overturned, already half of the country, they have immediate
To
trigger
the
laws.
states, correct? If it goes
Yeah,
back
the
to the
states.
states, and now the
Right,
states are
half of
saying
the states, half of the states.
that are banning abortions are saying, okay, we're no longer are for pro-choice. We're banning abortions. So what does a person do if they're on Medicaid? It's not going to be covered. You are right. It is going to affect the poor, and it's going to affect the poor across all colors, across. It's basically a social economic issue. It's not, to me, it's not really a color issue. It's basically a social economic issue, because if you're poor, no matter what color you are, if you can't afford to jump on a plane, get a ticket, get a hotel room, jump to another state, like, if New York says, okay, we're pro-choice. If I'm in Texas and I'm poor and I can't afford to get on a plane, afford a hotel room, get to New York, get to California, guess what? Now I'm going to be forced to have a child
That you might not be able to
I might
afford.
not be able to afford.
Or that would, again, what if the baby, does have medical issues, or if the mother is, it can affect the mother's issues. There's just so many like factors that go into this. And so to make this across the board, to outlaw it across the board, just doesn't make sense. There's so many different scenarios.
Especially for women who have been sexually abused, incest, molestation. When I hear men say no exceptions for rape, for incest, do you know 1 out of 4 women, or 1 out of 4 people in this country have been sexually abused? And for you to tell me, if you've never been sexually abused before, that you are forcing me to not have a choice if I want to have this child or not, because this might be a trauma for me. But you as a man feel like, well, that's not my problem.
It's barbaric.
Because that baby, look, like I said, everyone has a religious belief. And I understand the other side when they say, I am pro-life. This baby, it has the right to live. I understand this. But our foundation in this government is to separate state from church, state from religion.
I do want to point out, and I'm just reading these figures because I want people to get a grip here. So 66% of abortions occur before 8 weeks. Before 15 weeks is 95% of abortions. From 16 to 20 weeks, so when I aborted mine, 3.8%, and after 21 weeks is 1.3%. There is no such thing as infanticide. No doctor is killing a baby as it's getting delivered. That's number one. Number two, late-term abortions. First of all, I was reading about this today. There's no such thing as something called a late-term abortion. You refer to it by the trimester. So I had a second semester termination. Almost exclusively, I would say probably 99% of these abortions that are occurring after 16 weeks are due to medical reasons. It's not just the girl that woke up one day and was like, you know what? I don't think I want it. That's not happening. Abortions that are occurring after 16 weeks are for medical reasons. Like myself, I found out later and I needed time to find out more information, or, insurance problems or whatever it is. Those are medical reasons, whether it's saving the mother's life or there is a problem with the fetus. So people need to understand that almost exclusively these abortions that are occurring later in the pregnancy are for medical reasons. So we really need to understand that. And there is no infanticide. Nobody is killing normal, healthy babies. Enough with that already. It's fake news.
And hi, Gary Allen. I know you're leaving comments. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate anyone and everyone who's leaving comments. And I understand, like, you have your opinion. It's easier for a man to sit there and say, who doesn't carry a child for 9 months, your job doesn't have to stop, your dreams don't have to stop, your career doesn't have to stop. you know what's funny? I understand men have an opinion about this, but the responsibility bears on the woman. See, what happens is with the mom. So a lot of men need to understand this. When a woman is pregnant and her choice is taken away from her, 9 times out of 10, the man does not have the responsibility, doesn't lay on the man. It lays on the woman. Men's dreams don't stop. Their careers don't stop. They keep going. They keep grinding. You know what stops? The woman has to make that choice. The woman has to make all of these choices because it majorly affects a woman. See, what happens is, for instance, if you get divorced, 9 times out of 10, the child stays with the mom, and the man goes and moves on with his life. And yes, he sees a child, and everything, but the responsibility bears on the mom, right? So I understand how men have opinions on this, but until you carry a child for 9 months, until you go through what we go through, and you could personally put yourself in our shoes, I do respect your opinion, but it does not drastically affect your life as much as it affects a woman's life.
And also the other thing is, what I don't understand is the commenter Gary, like, how does my life affect Gary's life? I don't understand that. Everyone has their own problems and their own beliefs. Worry about yourself. Get out of my uterus. Don't worry about me. You will never know me. You are not taking care of my child. You are not paying to take care of my child. You're not feeding, housing, educating, sending my child to college. Worry about yourself. Stop worrying about other people. This drives me insane. And also, this abortion topic, I don't like when people say it's only it's only for women to be fighting, because it takes two to tango. And so if you have to terminate a pregnancy, like for example, in my situation for medical reasons, that affects my husband's life as well. And that was very upsetting to him too. So, in the end of the day, if you know a woman, this can affect you too. It can affect a husband, a brother, an uncle, a grandfather. This does affect you because either you're raising this child you can't afford, or you have to terminate a pregnancy that you very much wanted but couldn't have for a variety of reasons. So this is an everybody issue, and everybody needs to get out there and fight for this issue, because
Yeah,
you don't know.
Gary, we appreciate your comment. The only thing we're saying is, if we're pro-choice, we're not taking anybody's choice away from them. Meaning that if you believe in pro-life, see, pro-choice includes pro-life, and that's what people need to understand. When we say pro-choice, you can be pro-life. No one is taking that away from you. And pro-choice means you just decide what you want to do. If you're pro-life, no one is taking that choice away from you. So I appreciate. I know you said that your wife, was pregnant. So Gary, we so appreciate your opinion, because men should have the opinion also, especially if that is their child. So I completely understand that. So pro-choice does not mean that we want to kill the baby. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that. Pro-choice just means that just give me the right, because it's my body, for me to physically make a choice for myself. Now,
That's
if
the
I'm
best for yourself.
pro-life, that's my choice. And then if I'm pro-choice and I choose not to, if I choose to terminate, that's also my choice. That's all we're saying. We're not saying that if you're pro-choice, then we're anti-abortion. There's a difference. It just means that I just want to have a right to choose for what's right for my family. That's all we're saying.
And the other thing is, I just want to say one more thing, is that, you should never really judge someone else, because you never know what is in store in your life. I was married. I already had 3 kids. I never thought I was going to need an abortion. What? What do you mean? And not until I found myself in this position And I was faced with this heartbreaking choice is when I had to, you know, to do something I never thought I would have to do. So you just never know. And you never know how you're going to feel until you're faced in a situation where only you have the pieces to make the decision. So do not, you know, judge others because you do not know where your life will take you
Well,
or your family members or your children.
You are so right. So thank you, Alethea Shapiro, for coming on. I'm proud of you, sis. And I want to say thank you so much for all the comments. Thank you, Gary, for your comment. This is going to be an interesting next couple of weeks in America. So all comments are welcome. Thank you so much for joining and see you next week. Bye.
See you in the streets.
See you in the streets. Bye.